Today I have Erin Kulp. Erin is our sales support and customer service manager. I am very happy to have her on the podcast today. She has helped me immensely in the last couple months, and I went to Erin and I'm like, Erin, would you please come on my podcast? So, Erin, welcome to my podcast.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Hey, so you've been with Eastern since May of 2020. You came here as part of the Invent Raychem team. I'm going to phrase it and you can fill in the blanks here a bit, but Invent decided to go to a rep network model versus a direct model. You were part of that team, and when we were selected, Eastern Controls hired a lot of the people from Invent Raychem to come on board with Eastern Controls. So can you just explain how that worked, and perhaps what your role was at Invent Raychem and how that transferred to Eastern Controls?
Sure, yeah. My experience with Invent Raychem, I had been there for about 23 years in various roles. My final role there was inside sales manager, and I had been doing that specific role for about 10 years. We had a team of inside sales people that supported the product only side of the business, and then as well as a team of engineers and folks that we relied on for design of the engineering and product section of the business. When we came over to ECI, I was brought over as the sales support manager, managing the thermal team that ECI had created with the creation of the relationship between Invent and Eastern Controls. So I was managing inside sales for the product sales, as well as the engineers who worked in developing the engineering and product proposals. And that part of the business actually was a little bit new to me as well, in the transition to ECI, but it was fun to grow into and utilize my contacts back at Invent to help us transition to the rep manufacturer model here at Eastern Controls. So I did that for about 6 months or so. And then in February, added the customer service manager to my role. And so now I also oversee the customer service department.
Okay, so when you became the customer service manager, I think that's when I started to interface with you a lot more. So
Yes.
I didn't, oh my gosh, I didn't know how that connected. Okay, so
Yep.
there you go. Okay, so so how do you define, so that defines your role, a bit with Eastern, and so what are the what's the daily drumbeat of the job? Like, I mean, we call it the blocking and tackling in sales. Like, who are the blockers and tacklers? So you're one of the blockers and tacklers in your team. So what's your team do? What's that daily drumbeat, and what are some of the challenges?
Yep. So the customer service team specifically, we process all of the orders that Eastern Controls receives for every single one of our principals and vendors that we support. So that is from basically reviewing the PO for accuracy of terms and pricing, to securing product, to expediting product, to interfacing with the customer should there be any issues, delays, special requests. The CSR typically handles that. And then we see it through providing order tracking to the customers, and then dealing with any back end issues. When necessary, I am a firm believer in relationship management as it relates to all of the departments at Eastern Controls in a sales firm like this. So we work with inside sales, we work with outside sales, we work with whomever really we need to. We engage with and involve if there's situations that we feel like are out of our control or might be better handled by someone else, like outside sales or inside sales. Sometimes the level of the relationship there is a little bit more intimate with the customer rather than on the customer service level. So we don't hesitate to engage with those folks as well. And it's something that I promote the team to do consistently.
I love that phrase, and I underlined it 3 times. I'm going to borrow that phrase now. That's going to become a Bill Wolf phrase. Sorry. But I love relationship management. I love that. And I'll tell you that that was something that where you and I, one of our first interfaces, we had a customer that there were some challenges.
Mhm.
And it's a great customer of ours, terrific people. But you know, it's an OEM and they have challenges and we have to meet those challenges. We have to meet those customer expectations. And I know I came to you and you were like, Bill, can I interface with the customer? Is it okay? And I said, yes. And you did a great job of taking that customer and helping them along and building and helping our relationship with them.
Thank you. Good.
And that's one of the reasons why I was like, I got to get Erin Kulp on our podcast, my podcast here. So
Yeah.
I love that. So how many, you mentioned reports. I'm just curious, how many team members do you have reporting to you?
So on the thermal team, there are two people for the inside sale. Well, they're actually hybrid inside sales / engineers.
Yeah.
We're trying out a new role for them, and it's going very, very well. We decided to kind of bring in the engineer expertise into the thermal inside sales role. So we're utilizing those two guys in a different way, and it's going really, really well. So I'm really happy about that. And then with customer service, we have five
Wow.
five
Wow.
people in the customer service team, which two of them are actually newer hires as well. So they come
Okay.
on and
So
do
you have 7 reports then.
Yep.
Okay. Okay. That's okay. And I know the two gentlemen you're talking about on the thermal side. Yeah, I'm getting to know them a lot better now. So,
Yeah.
um, so wrapping things up, just my last question for you. What are you just mentioned some shifts there? So, what would you say are some of the improvements you've made since taking over this role, and what do you see moving forward a little bit? What's your vision?
Yep. So specifically for customer service, my first goal was cross training. Each person had their individual specialty and where they felt most comfortable and where they were most knowledgeable in entering specific types of orders, dealing with the vendors, et cetera. With the addition of the two other members to the team recently, I think back in April, we've been able to focus on cross training so that as volume increases, we can easily adjust and have someone step in and pick up, fill in for vacation time, things like that, so that the team is more seamless in their day and people can jump in wherever needed. And then the other immediate focus was my response times. I'm
Yes.
I am really, really big on at least acknowledging the customer's request and letting them know we're working on it. Not letting it sit for too long with them wondering, did they even get my request? So my number one focus on that part is acknowledging the customer's request and then the timeliness of response in getting them the information that they needed. Sometimes we're at the mercy of the getting the information from the vendors, so it's not always within the time frame we would prefer, but we manage it and try to manage the customer's expectations with any potential delays in getting that information.
I think I saw that memo and I remember that discussion, and I think that's really important. I know it's something that I work on with my inside sales engineer, Justin Lotan, and I said, hey, we need to let the engineer know that we're working on it
Mhm.
because right, like there's questions, sometimes there's a delivery issue or a question going back on a special material or whatever. Uh, Recently, we had a pricing issue with one of our manufacturers, and you would think it'd be a 24-hour thing, and it was 3 to 4 days. But
Mhm.
it's important the customer knows that, hey, we're working on
Yep.
this. You know, just that little ping back. So, um, Erin, I want to thank you for coming on my podcast. Folks, we actually had this scheduled a couple other times, and Erin finally said, Bill, can we do 7:30 in the morning? I said, absolutely. I said, I got a double espresso, no problem.
Yeah, we are morning people.
We are morning people. Yes, I am absolutely. If this was 3 o'clock in the afternoon, I'd be like, "This is Bill Wolf."
Yeah.
So, Erin, thank you so much for coming on my podcast. Really appreciate it. We're gonna
Thank you for having me.
put this out to the universe, and it was a pleasure speaking with you this morning.
Awesome. Thanks, Bill. Have a good one.